Okay, the highly trained gun enthusiasts, the McCloskeys,
What the hell did you just say?
are lighting up the internet, and there's a whole lot of people who have a whole lot of different opinions about this particular situation. This video is brought to you by the censorship-hating crew over at Night Solar. This brand new ultra-bright wireless flashlight with motion detectors makes it super easy to light up all the dark spots in your yard. You can install it anywhere because it's wireless, and you never need to worry about buying batteries for it because it's solar powered with a high-powered battery storage pack and frickin' bright LED lights. Don't spend hundreds of dollars on floodlights. Go to nightsolar.com and get 52% off with free shipping. The link's in the description. This is from the Daily Mail. Moment lawyer couple brandish AR-15 and a handgun at protesters marching past their mansion in an upscale St. Louis neighborhood. Husband and wife Mark and Patricia McCloskey could be seen aiming the guns at demonstrators who walked by their palatial property in the wealthy Forest Park area at around 6 p.m. on Sunday. At one point, the pair seemed to be unknowingly pointing their weapons at one another, and they were, while trying to keep protesters away from their home. Let's take a look at this video. Okay, so we're going to see later that this is private property, so all these protesters, there's also a picture, I couldn't find it before I did this video, but there's a picture of this gate right here. They completely destroyed this gate. So they destroyed private property and they're walking on private property. That's the context.
Alright, y'all see he got a gun and shit, and y'all can see. Y'all see on my live feed, he got his rifle. Y'all can see. He does have a weapon. As y'all can see. This individual.
Now notice they're chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets." And we're going to see later in a couple of these photos that the street that they're on is a private street on private property. So in reality, it's not the protester street, it's the McCloskey street and whoever else lives on that street. So this is private property and the protesters are trespassing. That is the appropriate context. I don't know if you can hear him, but McCloskey is yelling to the protesters that this is private property.
Y'all screenshot this. Send it to me. Show.
I also want to point out that the McCloskeys are making some big mistakes. They did she pointed her handgun at him. She's pointing the handgun at the crowd. This is a deadly weapon being pointed at the crowd with her finger on the trigger. Now, I'm not slighting her for protecting her property. It's just that when you put your finger on the trigger, you got to be ready to pull the trigger. She's really threatening these people's lives. But on the other side of it, the protesters are on their property. The protesters do far outnumber the McCloskeys and everybody who lives on this private driveway. Let's get back to the Daily Mail. One video posted to Twitter of the demonstrators shows the woman holding her gun at a protester who's wearing a t-shirt that reads, "Hands up, don't shoot." The individual who appeared to be trying to get the people to move away from the house at the time. Patricia McCloskey, 61, is seen moving closer to the protesters, which is a mistake. You got this little bitty handgun. I don't know what kind of handgun it is. But you got this little bitty gun. You're far outnumbered by all these protesters. The best you could possibly do as an untrained individual, I don't know how many shots this thing has, is get off 1 or 2 shots before you get rushed. You do not want to be on street level with hundreds of protesters. She's far outnumbered. Other demonstrators are heard shouting at everyone to go as the woman continues waving her gun at them from her front lawn, and Mark McCloskey watched from the front door with his rifle. St. Louis police confirmed that they were called to Portland Place at around 7:20 p.m. on Sunday night for an incident involving trespassing and assault with intimidation after the McCloskeys issued a call for help. The victims stated that they were on their property when they heard a loud commotion coming from the street. When the victims went to investigate the commotion, they observed a large group of subjects forcefully breaking an iron gate marked with no trespassing and private street signs. Now we go back to this video. Look, he right there, momentarily, he pointed his firearm directly at her chest. All right, so there's the private street sign, access limited to residents, not to protesters. This isn't a right-of-way. This isn't public property. This is private property and a private street. According to police, once through the gate, the victims advised the group that they were on a private street and trespassing and told them to leave. The group began yelling obscenities and threats of harm to both victims. When the victims observed multiple subjects who were armed, they then armed themselves and contacted the police. The investigation is ongoing. Here's how ABC covered it.
We're providing that extra jolt that you might need in the morning by taking a look at some of the stories we think you'll be talking about, including this. A demonstration in St. Louis led to a heart-pounding scene outside the home of one of the mayor's neighbors. You can see a man and a woman pointing a pistol and what looks like an assault rifle at the crowd yesterday. The couple was confronting hundreds of protesters who passed through their gated community to urge Mayor Lyda Krewson to resign.
Of course, they have to say assault rifle.
On Friday, during a Facebook Live event, Krewson read the personal information of demonstrators who want the city's police department defunded. More than 40,000 people have signed an online petition demanding the mayor step down. The video has since been deleted, and Krewson has apologized. She also said the names and addresses she read out, Tony, are public information, and luckily, with regards to that video, no one was hurt.
Yeah, no one was hurt in that video with the gun on the porch, but that information, while it may be public, it wasn't as public as being read out loud. There's a difference between it being technically accessible and being broadcast out there. So I'm glad that things went in a safer direction, but it could have gone in a better direction from the beginning.
So this couple, the McCloskeys, are getting a lot of grief on the internet. We'll finish this video out right here.
All right, y'all see he got a gun and shit, and y'all can see.
So the McCloskeys are getting a lot of heat on the internet. This guy says, here's what happens when you march on Portland Place in St. Louis, Missouri. They're scared of their own community. Well, when your community busts down your gate and starts walking on private property on a private driveway and yelling obscenities and threatening your dog, this right over here says, according to the couple, the mob threatened to take their guns, kill their dog, and burn down their house. This is what life looks like with no police. Keep in mind, what do you think is going through the minds of this couple after we've seen 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week news coverage of protesters going through cities and streets and burning businesses to the ground, smashing windows, flipping over cars? These people are probably freaked out at a mob on their private driveway, a mob who just broke down their gate. Let's just go through a couple more of these photos. Here's the main drive-in gate, and there are two walk-in gates. I think it's this gate that they trashed. There's a picture, it's not here on the Daily Mail, but there was a picture that showed the left-hand gate as you're coming in from the street was just completely torn down and demolished. That's not a planned photo. Let's just move right along. It almost looks like she has her hand on his shoulder, on his left shoulder. She's got her finger, it looks like, on the trigger with the gun right next to his head. It doesn't look like in that angle right there, it's pointed at his head, but it's almost like she's got her hand resting on his shoulder with his head right there. If she pulled the trigger, that guy's losing a left eardrum. That's an aerial view of their house. Mr. McCloskey protecting his house. This person says, definition gated community, privacy and security. Because a gated community is private, it is more difficult to access than a standard community. Criminal activity is reduced in gated communities, and solicitors will have a more difficult time, if not impossible time, bothering residents. This guy right here says, Karen's finger is on the trigger. See 2005 Missouri Revised Statutes 571.030, unlawful use of weapons, exceptions, and penalties. In the presence of one or more persons, any weapon readily capable of lethal use in an angry or threatening manner, Class D felony. This guy says, charged for what crime? They violated the private property sign located before the gated door. This person says, the peaceful protesters broke through a private gate and were trespassing on private property. Americans have the right to determine who gets access to their property, whether you like it or not. This person says, yikes, she could have actually shot someone. She knows nothing about gun safety. Her finger's on the trigger the entire time. Her gun license and or pistol license should be revoked. Missouri is a constitutional carry state, so there is no revoking of license. And if you have private property that somebody's trespassing on, you do have every right to protect your property by whatever means necessary. How is that assault? He has a Second Amendment right to stand on his property and hold a gun he legally owns. This is brandishing, and they are both guilty of it. It's so funny. Just like anything, there are wide and varying opinions on this situation. On the one hand, you have people who are totally for the protesters and against the homeowners, and vice versa. But one theme that I've seen running through all of mainstream media on the leftist side is that while they're upholding the rights of the protesters, they seem to conveniently forget that the protesters stopped becoming just protesters when they violated private property rights and decided to break down that gate and trespass on private property. Leave your thoughts about this for the world, the Google Thought Police, and every protester out there in the comments section below. If you get something out of this content and you want to support this channel, one of the best ways you can do that is by liking this video and sharing it with everybody you can, everywhere you can on social media. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so that whenever I upload a video, you're one of the first to see it. If you want to further support the channel, the Patreon, PayPal, Bitcoin, and Subscribestar links are in the description below and in the pinned comment. Or you can grab one of these conversation-starting, hard-hitting designs that you can put on any shirt, hoodie, or mug from the shirt store, and that link is also in the description. Your purchase helps support more content on this channel. I will see you guys in the next heavily censored, shadow banned, and now 100% demonetized video.